The reason we're talking about the post office is that we learned from a complaint this past week that there are, in fact, some South Africans who still seem to believe we have a functioning post office and who are prepared to put their trust in an order coming by mail. And Wendy, it's quite astonishing that anybody would risk it anymore.
It is. I think maybe they're Shein shoppers. I think Shein
right.
And others like that
still
huge
deliver through the post office.
Through the post office. I'm not a Shein shopper. Maybe if someone listening can tell us if that's the case, or whether you have the option of courier, whether that option is just completely beyond. I mean, you're buying this cheap high fashion clothing, maybe getting it here by courier just defeats the object.
Sense, yeah.
Anyway, so whenever I comment on a post office issues, as you say, if people say, are they mad? Well, apparently not enough people do support the parastatal anymore, because it's become so unprofitable that it was placed under business rescue a few months ago.
Okay.
So last week, someone who calls herself Miss Lebo B posted this: "Dear South African Post Office, I'm just a customer standing in front of a post office asking for my parcel. It's been a month and the anticipation is real. Will I get it this year?" And then she got, "Please note that your item is at Halfway House branch. The branch is currently closed." How's that for an answer? Think about any other service provider. "How do I retrieve it?" asked Lelo. "Can you send it to another branch that's open? The item is locked inside the branch. Do you have an idea when the branch will open or relocate?" And she was told, "Please note that," absolute worst, "the post office was forcefully evicted by the landlord. The business rescue practitioners are in negotiation to take possession of the parcels inside Halfway House branch." Now, I'm sure many South Africans...
Well, we know that
We've
she's
done a
not
few.
alone. We've done a few of them, Wendy. I'm sure listeners will remember the description of the person who related to us how she arrived at St. Peter's Square in OBS and literally looked through the window and could see
it.
her parcel.
Remember, we had her on,
with her name on it. Yeah. So certainly Lelo not alone there. But you then took that case and reached out to the post office media liaison asking for a little bit more feedback.
Yes.
What did you discover?
I thought it was a good idea because I asked him a set of questions about how many were temporarily closed, how many branches that is. That was August last year. So it's been, 16 months. And I thought, well, let's get the lay of the land. Yeah. So I said, well, what is Lelo supposed to do now? And the answer was, "We have gained access to the parcels and we've retrieved them. We are busy reallocating them to various branches. We will update media and customers on where and when they've been delivered to other branches." Someone commented, "First, the Kyalami branch was closed permanently, so now I've been using Halfway House for over a year. Now that one is no more." Andrew True on X, I thought, made a very good point. He said, "You seem to forget your own Postal Services Act, which makes the willful obstruction of post an offence. Go and lay a charge at the police station." So I asked the post office, how are these landlords getting away with holding citizens' posted goods hostage? And the response was quite chilling, Pippa.
Yeah.
"We received legal advice that they are not permitted to hold parcels, but we have not the resources to pursue, but we are continuing to negotiate with landlords." That's what the business rescue practitioners are doing, talking to the landlords, talking to the municipalities, surprising water lights and everything else, because they
haven't been paid. And you can understand the landlord reaching a point saying, "You've been in my building
You're not getting
for 18
a free
months.
ride.
I refuse to let you be here any longer," and locking the doors, which is what happened in so many branches. But Wendy, as you say, inside parcels that innocent customers have ordered and paid for and are expecting.
The injustice of it is just...
So, by the way, several Shein shoppers immediately responding, saying that all of their Shein products come through Buffalo Logistics Courier. They do not use the post office.
My information is...
Interestingly, Andrew commenting on the WhatsApp line that the Royal Mail still insists on shipping via the SA Post Office, and my last parcel took 3 months to get to me. So that is, it's not a Shein order sitting, whatever it is that Lelo's ordered.
It's other things.
It'll be something else.
Subscriptions. I would love to know if anyone's posted something out of this country.
And had it arrive.
And I think that's less of a problem. It always was traditionally.
Yeah.
But we had some German friends staying with us, and their daughter wanted an old-fashioned postcard with the stamp and everything.
Yes.
So they've posted it to her, and I wonder... will it also take 3 months, or is that... I have a feeling, as I say, used to be the case up until a couple of years ago when I last checked, that you could with some success, not as quick as it used to be, not your 10 days thing, but a month or two, it would get there.
It would get there eventually. Okay. So, I mean, as you said, Wendy, when we spoke about this in August last year, you had done some research on how many branches were being closed because of the overdue rentals, etc. You then got some updated figures for us. So let's do a bit of a comparison. What did you find out?
Okay, so 34 branches had been closed due to non-payment of rent.
That was last year.
That was 16 months ago.
Yeah.
More than 300 others had been merged with nearby branches, and that left a total of 1,200 post office still operating. The updated figures are there are now 437 branches which have been permanently closed, and 37 of them in the current financial year. I did ask, of course, how many of those are in the Western Cape. I've been chasing that for a couple of days now, but there's a big thing happening with the rescue report. Approval or rejection this week, and the crunch time, which we're coming to, is tomorrow, and so they just they don't have the resources to come back to me on that. 168 branches are temporarily closed as we sit here, Pippa, around the country.
So those are the
and
rents.
We thought 34 16 months ago was outrageous.
168
imagine
branches.
How many parcels and 168 branches
are sitting there with their stock held hostage, basically.
Yes.
Phew. Now, Wendy, you did actually manage to chat to one of the business rescue practitioners. What else did you learn?
Yes, Anush Ruplal told me when we took over as business rescue practitioners on the 10th of July this year, there were a number of landlords that hadn't been paid for the rental of their properties that the post office uses either as branches or depots. Halfway House was one such branch, but we need to keep the post office operational, which has necessitated that we enter into negotiations with certain service providers, including municipalities for electricity, landlords for rent, and communication service providers for telephony and website use, to name a few. So this is why, for example, customers at Milnerton Post Office are once again able to collect parcels, because the business rescue people have managed to negotiate the restoration of that electricity supply.
Okay.
Just talking about this is so. It's surreal, really, that it's come to this.
It's just that image of the locked post office with a chain around the door and the parcels sitting on the floor inside. Wendy,
things fall apart.
You would think it would make it. If I was a landlord in that situation, I would totally understand why they'd done it, but I would be very worried about it being a theft risk, knowing that there is a locked post office with all kinds of parcels sitting inside it. I hope they've stationed extra security outside.
And that costs.
Yeah.
But also people just being desperate for something and thinking, you know what, the injustice of it bringing down a red mist and then whatever, let's hope not.
Throwing something through the window.
Yes.
Yeah.
So negotiations with these critical service providers are ongoing, as per the rescue plan that was published last week. And the creditors get to vote on that rescue plan tomorrow.
7th of December.
Yes.
Okay, so do we know what that plan proposes?
I had a quick look at it just to pull out the most critical points for me. Is that there's a suggestion in there that about 6,000 of the just over 11,000 remaining employees are retrenched. That is massive, and that is a horrible impact of what we're seeing here.
That's more than half of their staff.
Yeah.
Sure.
At this time of year to get news like that is just horrific. It also proposes to reduce the number of post office branches to just 600 around the country, down from about 1,300 pre-COVID, which is, we're talking less than half.
Okay, so less than half the staff, less than half the number of branches. That's chilling, Wendy.
If it's going to remain, if it's going to, the post office is going to remain operational, that's what it apparently needs to come down to.
All right, well, we'll keep you posted because, as Wendy said, the creditors are... Oh, sorry, I didn't do that on purpose. They're going to be voting on that proposal tomorrow, so we'll definitely keep an eye on that one, as I'm sure will Bruce Whitfield. I believe we've had a couple of voice notes responding on post office services. Let's take a listen.
Good afternoon, Pippa. Pippa, today I had a little envelope delivered by a courier company to me. All it was the emergency sticker from my medical aid that I need to affix to my vehicle's window. I just thought of the carbon footprint of the courier companies to deliver something so small. If it was a big parcel, something valuable, I could understand. But this also as a result of the dysfunctional or non-functioning postal service that we have. Thanks, Pippa. This is Marlene.
Marlene, it's such a good point. It's such a good point. And it's funny. I went through the same mental conversation with myself. I picked up my new driver's license card, Wendy, a couple of days ago. And I looked at it and I realized I need to contact the Organ Donor Foundation to get new stickers, to put my organ donor sticker on my driver's license.
Yes.
And by the way, very happy to see when I collected my new driver's license, I was handed a form saying, are you aware of the Organ Donor Foundation?
That's
and this
wonderful.
is how to register, which is great. Fantastic that that's happening, as an aside. But I went through, Marlene, the same process. I went, I'm not going to mail them and ask them to mail me new stickers. It's just, I'll wait until I know they're coming in for an interview again and ask them to bring them. And in the meantime, I'll just carry the old card with the new one. But it's absurd. It is, let's call it what it is. It's absolutely absurd.
So
that you've
sad.
got to resort to
Yes.
a private courier service to deliver something like that, as little as that.
And we grew up with, men and women walking the streets and popping our
Popping,
post in the post box.
Cycling and ringing the bell as they went past, I know. We've got another voice note to listen to. Let's take a listen there.
Good afternoon, Pippa. Just chatting about the post office. I actually recently had a great experience with them. I ordered an engineering part from Germany, assuming that it would be delivered via courier in the estimated lead time of about 2 weeks. And about 3 weeks later, I got an email saying that my parcel was ready for collection at the post office, to my surprise. I was quite skeptical about it at first, but I went through to the local Milnerton post office, and lo and behold, it was there, and I paid my import fees and duties and received my parcel in one piece.
It's astonishing.
Graham.
Fantastic,
Milnerton.
Graham.
Wow.
And thank heavens the Milnerton office is working properly
Again,
again.
not the lights are on and everyone's home.
So that's great. Okay, wasn't expecting to hear a positive
I
voice
love
note,
it.
but
Thank you. Yeah.
Lorna says she receives a pension from the UK and they insist she sends documents to them through the post office. Then sends her documents through the post office back to her. She doesn't want to consider any other form of exchanging They don't want to consider any other form of exchanging documents. Yeah, I mean, I had to get some legal papers sent through to the UK around about this time last year or a couple of months earlier. And I mean, Lorna, I just went, there's no way I can risk putting this in the post, besides the fact that they might reach there after
Cut-off.
the cutoff date for what they were needed for. Just my confidence that they would get there at all was whittled away to nothing. Cheryl's just commenting, I caught the end of your comment about the blood service stickers. Do they send them to you? It would be clever if they had them at blood clinics too. Cheryl, I was talking about organ donor stickers. Western Cape Blood Service will give you a donor card to keep in your wallet. And if you want, when you donate for the first time, you can fill out the form to get that sent to you. I've had mine for donkey's years. But yes, maybe they should also think about having a little red droplet sticker.
Yes.
More as a reminder to you than to anybody else. Of course, in the case of the Organ Donor Foundation, it's to remind somebody else finding you
Of
at the
your
scene of an
wishes.
accident, etc. to follow through. Okay, I think that's all we're going to say about the post office, unless you want to add something before we go
Not
to
the
news,
post
Wendy?
office. I just wanted to add
Yeah.
quickly a follow-up. Do you remember last week we had Hillary, who was owed a 6,000 Rand refund from Sandpark. She'd been trying to
Yes.
get since February because she had finger trouble and booked the wrong accommodation, immediately cancelled. And just try as she might, she couldn't get the money back. And we took up the case and we were told she'd be refunded by Thursday. Well, she was in full.
Yay.
And she was delighted and very kindly emailed us to let us know. So I'm very happy to report that is
Finally
now
came
that
through.
case is closed, and at least they kept that last promise to us.
Somebody messaging to say, I had to call Discovery to ask for new membership cards, the ones that sit in your wallet with all your details. They will only send by the post office. She said no courier service, even when we told them we were willing to pay for that. Consequently, we got them in the post box a full 3 months later.
Okay.
That's just absurd.
It does
Again,
seem
it just makes no
absurd.
sense.
But you
that
can
would
load
still-
them.
Yeah.
Even me, techie challenged, I have
Yes.
them just loaded on my phone.
your phone, so
and so
that
do my
might be
children. So it's you don't
the
have
easier
to.
option.
Yeah, you've
Okay.
always got them all. As long as you've got your phone, you've got them.
Okay. And then just this is a quickly dispensed with open line one, I think, before we dive into the food labeling issue. This is
Okay.
to do also with buying food in stores. Pat says, my local Quick Spa never weighs the container first when you buy food,
Okay.
resulting in a person paying for up to 20 or 40 grams of
Illegal.
container. I've spoken to the manager to no avail. This never happens at Pick and Pay and Woolworths. Is it worth taking further?
Yes, it is. And the body that controls that is the National, I always forget this, Regulator of Standards, the NRCS, National Regulator of
Consumer standards.
not compulsory standards, but anyway, it's you're going to Google it for
I'm
me.
gonna
Rebecca,
Google it
thank
for you while
I've
you
just
talk,
got a bit of
yes.
a brain freeze.
Okay.
It's NRCS and
National Regulator for Compulsory Specifications.
I got it right up to the S,
Yeah.
which is specifications, not standards. Anyway,
Okay.
so they have a legal metrology section. That's a section to ask for. And they're the people that go around and check that the scales, commercial scales that retailers use are properly calibrated, etc. And what they have to do by law is tear it's called TARE, which is basically subtract.
Zeroing the scale for the
And
container.
even our home scales can do that, because I bake and you tear the weight of the bowl that you're
Correct.
measuring your sugar in on those flat digital scales. So, I mean, the technology is there. And especially if the item you're buying is expensive, like biltong is an example,
Yeah.
they must tear the weight of that brown bag or whatever they're dispensing it in, because when you're paying 400 rand a kilo, whatever it is, or
Every
plus
gram counts.
every gram counts. So
Yeah.
yes, with seafood and all the rest, they absolutely must, and don't feel like a Karen for doing it. It's a legal requirement for good reason, because they can't charge you food prices for the container. It
Yeah.
must be tared.
Imagine if you were paying oyster rate
No,
for the
but exactly.
polystyrene the oysters
Yes,
came in, for
good
example, as
example.
an extreme, or
Yes.
lobster. Yeah.
So
Okay.
if they're fobbing you off, well, tell us so that we can raise a query with the head office of that particular retailer, and you can phone up your local NRCS office and ask for legal metrology and ask them to do an inspection.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you
Pat.
for
I'm
the
so glad
question.
you asked the question. So request an inspection from the NRCS. Okay, now let's stay in the food space. Wendy, we've looked at lots of food labeling issues over the years. Most recently, remember the yogurt versus dairy snack, etc.
Yes.
This time, though, an interesting listener a question about sugar content.
Right, so Kathy wrote, I recently bought ginger beer from Woolworths. I really don't like the taste of sweeteners at all, but generally find sparkling flavored drinks a bit sweet. So I was happy to see no added sugar. It's actually no sugar added, but same
Okay.
thing on this product, because I thought it would be less sweet and contain no sweeteners. It was entirely my mistake not to look more carefully at the packaging and see it also says sugar-free, which is a giveaway line for added sweeteners. The emphasis in the packaging is definitely no added sugar, stated twice. Sugar-free is clear, I missed it, and in the ingredients it refers to sweeteners. In comparison, she said she bought this Pura product, which I'm not familiar with, Pura, which has pure cane sugar but has less sugar overall, and is what I should be buying. Here comes the big question. Is there an industry rule about the terms no sugar added and sugar-free?
So if you look at them carefully, Wendy, the answer is in the wording itself. One is free of sugar. One has not had additional sugar placed into it.
But then you got to ask, well, additional to what?
To what would naturally occur from the product.
Yeah, but a lot of people are not going to clock that significant difference. So I posed a question to Karen Horsberg, who's a registered dietitian with the Stellenbosch-based Facts. We quote them often, and it's owned by Dr. Harris Steinman. It's the Food and Allergy Consulting and Testing Service. She's got 17 years experience of consulting in food regulations and food allergies, so she was the one to go to. And she says, yes, this question is always contentious, but there are regulations around this which are pretty clear. There is a difference between no added sugar and sugar-free. No added sugar means that the product may not contain any type of sugary ingredients. That's cane sugar, coconut sugar, honey, concentrated fruit juice, etc. It can be used on cereals, juices, or liquid fruits, or any of those type juices that, you know what I mean, even though they do contain massive levels of natural sugar, i.e. fructose. They can say no added sugar because no sugar has been added. It's what's intrinsically in the product. But even if it's been reduced to concentrate and then had liquid added to it to bring it back.
Reconstituted, yes.
Reconstituted, thank you, that's the word I was looking for. But I think this example shows why you shouldn't assume that no added sugar. The word added is very material, so it's got a high sugar content, but it's a naturally occurring sugar in the product. They didn't add more sugar or any other
Right.
form of sugar, right? But on the contrary, sugar-free, if you're going to use that descriptor on your pack, you have to have the product tested to prove that it does not contain more than 0.5 grams of total sugars per 100 milliliters. So total sugars include mono and can you even say that, Pippa? Disaccharide.
Disaccharide, I would think.
Disaccharides.
Yes. Monosaccharide.
Guess who isn't a
disaccharide,
dietitian?
okay.
Yeah. Which will pick up natural, that's intrinsic, and added sugars. Neither of these include sweeteners, though. So you can claim no added sugar and or sugar-free, and the product may contain sweeteners.
So you can have loaded it with
it can be very sweet.
aspartame or stevia or
Yes.
something like that, but it can't
Yes.
have intrinsic sugars in it.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So it's again a lesson in reading the labels very carefully and looking at the ingredients list very carefully. I mean, Wendy, you always tell us, turn the product over, look at the list and see what is the first or second and third ingredient listed, because those are the ones in the highest concentration,
exactly.
right? And if you are very particular about wanting a product that is low sugar content overall, you want to look that sugar is not in, and fructose and the like are not in that list.
Yes.
And if you are obviously trying to avoid sweeteners, you need to literally read
Look
and
for them,
check
because
that there
the
is no
descriptors-
addition of
the descriptor's not going to
artificial
tell you.
sweetener. Okay.
So that's quite a complicated one, and depending on where you're coming from, what your needs are.
Yeah.
So Kathy wanted a sweet but not too sweet drink with sucrose
Yes.
rather than the artificial. And I know for me it leaves
got a
like
funny taste.
squeaky teeth. No, I don't like it
Okay.
either. So thank you for that question, Kathy, which took us down that road, and to facts for obliging with the legal position around those descriptions.
Okay, thank you for that. And thank you, Andy, mailing us to say she likes to buy her tea lights in packs of 200 from Mr. Price Home. That pack lasts her the whole year, and she says they've got up to 300 Rand for 200 candles, so she gets them for R1.50 each. Can't say exactly how long they burn for, but it is at least around 4 hours. So again, if you're prepared to buy in bulk, the unit price is obviously going to drop, and that sounds like a good deal, given that Wendy's research indicated those candles do indeed burn for just over 4 hours. The Mr. Price ones were 4 hours and 5 minutes.
Yeah,
in your
they weren't the
experiment.
most impressive burners, I have to say, but
Yeah,
they did
but
live
they
up
did
to their
make
promise.
They
Yes.
did make it just
Yes.
over the line. Okay. Right, well, speaking of least impressive, let's finish with a quick one from Mohammed. I'll be interested to hear your view on this. Wendy, Mohammed booked a trip to Robben Island last month, and it
Okay.
was Children's Month in November, so they had a special running that kids went for free. 2 hours before their departure, they were sent an email saying, sorry, your trip has been cancelled for technical reasons. When he tried to reschedule, they then tried to charge for the children's tickets because it was no longer the month of November. And Mohammed thought that was really unfair because they had cancelled, not him. Surely they should honour the tickets we had, he said.
I agree, and anyway, they would have been due a refund if they wanted one. But I think absolutely they should have honoured the tickets that he bought. Absolutely, and we can take that up if they still refuse.
Okay, so Mohammed, follow-up email, please. If you can tell us, did you ask for, whether you offered the option of a refund? And secondly, when you pushed back and say, hey, that's not fair, did they capitulate or continue to protest that you had to pay full price for the kids? If you wouldn't mind sending me a follow-up with that information, and if necessary, we will gladly take that up and pass it, ask Wendy to take it up with the Robben Island Museum, because I agree with you. If you booked and paid for a particular product offering, and the cancellation was of their doing, not of yours, I don't see why you should then be prejudiced in trying to rebook. When do we have to wrap there? As always, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
The email address, if you'd like to send a case our way, is consumer@knowler.co.za, spelled Knowler.